When the Galactic Coalition's early warning satellites pinged, no one paid attention. One unidentified vessel entering border space. Nothing worth alerting High Command. Small incursions happened. Pirates, smugglers, maybe even a rogue AI skiff. Routine. Forgettable. But then it moved. The object, just one ship, entered slipspace without generating the usual gravity well disturbance. It accelerated at a rate that made even their most advanced physics models spit back errors. Within minutes, it had bypassed patrols, sliced through their first defensive line, and approached the outermost planet of the Coalition's fourth sector. That's when panic started. Aboard the command carrier Spire of Glory, Admiral Terex watched the data feed with narrowing eyes. His mandibles twitched slightly, an involuntary sign of unease. "Where is its fleet?" he asked, more to himself than his crew. "There is no fleet, Admiral," his officer replied. "It's alone." Terex straightened. "No ship moves like that. Even the Coalition's elite vessels need support for a deep space incursion." "Who does this ship belong to?" Silence followed. Then a reply from the intelligence unit. "No origin signature. Not from any known faction. No registration. No digital ID. But what?" The officer hesitated. "Its architecture, it's Terran." The room went still. Terran? The humans? That couldn't be right. Humanity had vanished a century ago, smashed by the Empire's fleets, scattered and broken after the final rebellion. The last human world, Earth, was marked as a ghost planet. Not a single signal had come from it in 80 years. "That's impossible," Terex growled. And yet, the ship's hull bore strange marks. Not language, not standard insignia, but a kind of scorched etching that seemed both alien and primitive. One word kept translating over and over again in every system the Coalition ran it through: retribution. The command center was quiet, the hum of systems and comms low and subdued, as if the ship's presence carried gravity of its own. Admiral Terex leaned forward. "Scramble Sector Fleet 7. Engage and capture. I want that ship dissected." They sent 40 warships. In 5 minutes, all contact with Sector Fleet 7 went dark. The recordings showed only a blur. One ship, darting through formations with impossible agility. Weapons that bent space around them. Hull shielding that simply ignored plasma fire. There was no dialogue. No demand. No call sign. Just destruction. Terex gripped the edge of his console. Why just one ship? No one answered. But the survivors, those few whose escape pods were recovered, came back whispering the same thing. It wasn't a scout. It wasn't an attack. It was a warning. The High Command of the Galactic Coalition convened an emergency session for the first time in 72 cycles. Representatives from every major species and sector streamed into the Great Hall of Decisions, an obsidian chamber once built to impress empires. Today, it trembled under the weight of a single unanswered question. "Why one ship?" repeated Counselor Viral of the Shattered Dominion, her voice clipped and sharp. "What kind of power can destroy an entire fleet without backup?" No one answered. Admiral Terex stood before the gathered leaders, his normally confident frame drawn tight with unease. He tapped a panel, and the footage played again. Sector Fleet 7 obliterated in minutes. The Terran ship moved like a phantom. No mass-based propulsion. No traceable energy signatures. Just pure, brutal efficiency. "We have named it the Revenant," Terex said, "because it comes from a species we believed dead." A murmur rose among the counselors. "I thought humanity was eradicated," hissed the Kralin ambassador. "We all did," came a response from the Tsarathi trade baron. "The records were clear. Their colonies glassed. Earth neutralized. No signals. No signs. Then how is this possible?" Viral pressed. The room was quiet until a voice came from the rear. Elder Ruin of the Kalari Collective, ancient and blind, leaned forward. "You believe them gone," he said softly. "But humans do not vanish. They evolve." Terex nodded slowly. "We believe this ship is not a remnant, but a test." He tapped again. A new map appeared, showing the projected trajectory of the Revenant. It wasn't random. It was heading directly toward the border between Coalition space and the old Terran exclusion zone, specifically to the ruins of Earth. The room fell into stunned silence. "It's returning home," Terex said. "And if this ship is what we think it is, then it means humanity survived. Somewhere, somehow they rebuilt. Quietly. In isolation. And now they're ready. Ready for what? Someone whispered. Terex looked around the chamber, his voice grim. Retribution. On a distant moon, far from Coalition eyes, a hidden human enclave watched the chaos unfold. The Revenant's AI streamed back tactical data. Inside a darkened command room, a human figure stood in silence, watching as red markers disappeared one by one from the galactic map. It worked, said a tech. The man, older, scarred, with cybernetic eyes that gleamed like molten metal, smiled grimly. They wanted to forget us, he said. But we didn't forget them. What now, Commander? He stared at the map. Earth was close now. And so was war. We sent one ship, he said. Because that's all it takes to make them remember why they feared us. Word of the Revenant spread faster than any fleet. Systems on the Outer Rim began refusing Coalition orders. Pirate lords halted their raids. Even ancient enemies paused their wars to watch, with growing unease, the path of a single Terran vessel tearing through space like a dagger. In the command chamber of the Spire of Glory, Admiral Terex reviewed the latest report. 11 fleets lost, dozens of scout probes intercepted and disabled without even being fired upon. The Revenant was now 2 systems from Earth, and nothing had even slowed it down. And then came the transmission. No encryption, no code, just a simple audio message broadcast in every known galactic language. You broke us, burned our skies, erased our name, but you made one mistake. You let one of us live, and we never forget. Terex stood frozen. It wasn't the words that chilled him, it was the voice. Cold, clear, and human. Not AI, not synthetic. There was someone on that ship. Alive, piloting, commanding, calculating. Give me full fleet access, Terex barked. I want reinforcements on every hyperspace lane around Earth. But it was too late. Because humanity had always excelled at one thing, surprise. Across the galaxy, hidden Terran cells, long dormant, activated simultaneously. One on a mining colony detonated an antimatter bomb inside a Coalition fortress. Another hijacked a planetary defense grid and turned its guns on its own fleet. And a third had been embedded inside the Coalition's own intelligence division for years. They didn't need an army. They were the weapon. Back in Terran command, deep beneath the surface of an abandoned moon, the old human commander watched the chaos unfold. They're scattering, the tech whispered. Good, the commander said. They'll start turning on each other soon. Fear will do more damage than any ship. And the Council? He looked at the holomap. They think Earth is a target. But Earth is just the symbol. So what is the target? The commander's eyes burned bright. Their memory. Meanwhile, on the edge of the exclusion zone, the Revenant exited slipspace and came to a halt. Not because it was blocked, but because it had arrived. A derelict station, ancient, rusted, forgotten by time, floated before it. Once a Terran listening post. Now just a tomb in space. But the ship's scanners showed something else, a faint energy signature. Buried beneath the metal bones of the past, something pulsed. The Revenant opened its hangar bay. A figure stepped out, armored in matte black exosuit plating, carrying a long weapon that hadn't been seen in centuries. No insignia, no rank, just vengeance. They moved through the station silently, past broken lights and forgotten halls, until they reached the core and placed a device. Back on the ship, a countdown began. In 60 seconds, the galaxy would receive its second message, and this one would be loud. The explosion wasn't nuclear. It wasn't antimatter. It was something else, something worse. Coalition deep space sensors caught the detonation just as it bloomed from the dead Terran station like a dying star. For 13 seconds, the system's gravitational field twisted. Space itself shuddered. Time dilation anomalies flared as far as 2 sectors out. And then the station vanished. Not destroyed, erased. Like it had never existed. Admiral Terex watched the live feed in mute horror. What kind of weapon was that, he demanded. The analysts didn't respond immediately. One of them finally said, voice trembling. That wasn't a weapon, it was a signature. They wanted us to see it, to feel it. And across hundreds of light years, every sensor caught the echo. We're back. The panic began in earnest. Planets locked down. Factions turned their fleets inward. Trade routes collapsed as entire systems went dark, choosing isolation over exposure. Smugglers whispered about ghost ships. Mercenaries refused jobs near Terran space. Even the elite warrior caste of the Dracoan Empire requested reassignment. But some didn't run. Some planned to strike first. A secret council of warlords and admirals, leaders of the coalition's most powerful houses, gathered in a hidden fortress orbiting a red dwarf. Their goal: to launch a preemptive strike on whatever Terran infrastructure remained. Humanity cannot be allowed to rebuild, snarled Lord Mavak. If they have one ship this powerful, what if they build more? But where are their shipyards? Asked another. No one knew. The Revenant was the only confirmed asset. Still, they agreed. A multi-pronged assault, launching within 12 standard hours. They mobilized fleets from 17 systems, and they never saw what hit them. As they departed the dwarf star system, a second Terran ship appeared. Smaller, sleeker, different from the Revenant. Its name, never spoken, was Wraith. The coalition forces had prepared for speed, firepower, and stealth. They hadn't prepared for silent war. The Wraith didn't fight in open space. It infiltrated systems, corrupted their comms, disabled life support aboard entire flagships with precision nanite strikes. It infected mines with subliminal code. It hijacked jump drives mid-leap, stranding ships between dimensions. In 40 minutes, the coalition's strike armada was reduced to radio static. Back in the heart of Terran command, the human commander stood before a vast display of galactic movements. They're not uniting, his lieutenant said. They're fracturing, turning on each other. The commander nodded. Good. Let them fall apart before we ever reach them. But when do we? The commander raised a hand. We sent one ship to remind them, he said quietly. The next will be to reclaim. Outside the command center, in an underground hangar stretching for miles, more ships came online, each bearing no name, no flag, only the silent black of vengeance reborn. And at the center, rising slowly from its cradle, was something even the Revenant feared. The humans hadn't just returned. The Revenant hovered in orbit over Earth's remains, not a wasteland, not anymore. Below, lush greenery crept over glassed craters. Oceans had begun to reclaim their blue, and in the shadows of old ruins, new cities were rising. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had healed. And now, they were ready to return. The Terran High Command gave the final order. Across hidden sectors, camouflaged shipyards broke silence as a black fleet emerged into the stars. No fanfare, no celebration, only purpose. They didn't broadcast threats. They didn't demand justice. They simply moved. The Galactic Coalition watched with mounting dread as dark dots blinked onto every star map. From the outer reaches to the core worlds, Terran vessels appeared like shadows in the void. Each ship different in shape and capability, all bearing the same ominous trait. Silence. Coalition forces scrambled. Old enemies tried to unite. Diplomatic channels fired on every frequency. Stop. We surrender. Let's talk. Please, what do you want? But humanity had already spoken. Their answer had been the Revenant. In the council chamber, Admiral Terex stood facing the shattered coalition of leaders. No one held rank anymore, just fear. They've crippled our fleets. Shattered morale. Half of our systems have declared neutrality. We can't mount a defense. Then what do we do? Counselor Viral asked. Die. No, said a voice from behind them. A human stepped through the chamber doors. Unarmed. Unshielded. Alone. Gasps echoed through the room as every sensor confirmed it. Real. Alive. Human. He stood tall, dressed in a simple black uniform. No nameplate, no rank. Just the insignia burned into his chest. A phoenix wrapped in barbed wire. I came to deliver your future, he said. The guards raised weapons. The human didn't flinch. You feared one ship, he continued, because you thought we were extinct. You feared we had returned for revenge. But you never understood. He stepped forward. We didn't send that ship to destroy you. We sent it to show you what restraint looks like. He paused, then looked at each of them in turn. We only needed one. The next day, coalition forces stood down across the galaxy. Treaties were rewritten, borders erased, and the Terran flag, black, silver, and silent, was raised over the ashes of empires. Not because humanity demanded it, but because the galaxy offered it, willingly. They remembered what it meant to face humans who had something to lose. Now, they feared the ones who had already lost everything and returned stronger. Because sometimes, One ship is all it takes.